Last time on Kamen Rider Juliet, the genius appreciator of the arts Juliet Necro thoroughly investigated Mina the Hollower's very fun narrative, including its questioning of the video game medium's love of larger-than-life heroes.
You criticize games for having larger-than-life heroes, like you and I aren't literally Kamen Riders.
Yeah, but it's different, I think. There's lots of writers, so it's different.
Also, I think you really wanted to gush about mouse girls, and the rest of the video was just some pretense for that.
I would never. That's crazy. Just because I love mouse girls more than almost anything else in the world doesn't mean I would...
One of your friends bought it for you because you never stopped talking about mouse girls.
Touché. Anyway, let's see what I wind up getting into on this episode. A thing that does not change with time is a memory of younger days. The sweltering heat reminds us of bygone school breaks, of air-conditioned summers in front of an overgrown CRT. But time passes, people move. Like a river's flow, it never ends. A childish mind will turn to noble ambition, and young love will become deep affection. I'm Juliet Necro, and like everyone else who's even slightly tuned into the world of video games, Ocarina of Time is on my mind again. I had to go back to that place I've been so many times before, and not just once, but 3 times before I was satisfied. I wanted to experiment with different ways that a game's experience can be reborn, and came away with some conclusions that the Treatlerites in the crowd might not want to hear. You can remake a game for yourself in a variety of ways without paying anyone for the privilege. Now, let's begin the experiment. Revisit. With a strength and kindness greater than yesterday, I've grown up, and everyone can feel it.
Clock! Country! Best man! Are you ready?
Henshin!
The forward-looking dreamer! Clock! Cartridge!
Firstly, I wanted to do a straightforward replay of Ocarina of Time. I did use the Ship of Harkinian PC port, primarily because I wanted to play with the Linkle mod. Long-time channel viewers will know that I'm an absolute sucker for a classic game with a girl mod. No sense in beating around the bush. The first element in the room to discuss is the fact that later this year there's going to be a remake of Ocarina of Time. As of my writing this, it's the end of June, so I've only seen the teaser. But I already know that I'm 0% interested in the remake, no matter what it's like. Whether it radically reimagines the way the game functions, or if it's a straightforward and slavishly faithful recreation. Either way, I won't bite. I really see 0 point at all to remakes of video games, and this one's hardly an exception. The only ones I really like are the remakes of the first 3 Resident Evil games, and Super Mario All-Stars, which gets grandmothered in because it's the first video game I ever played. Remake enjoyers will give you all kinds of excuses, like saying that a remake opens the experience of a game to a new generation, by bringing it in line with modern sensibilities. I want you to think about how ridiculous such a statement would sound if you were talking about any other medium. Let's look at my top 10 favorite movies real quick. Of these, only 2 were released in my lifetime. The rest of them were first screened before I was born, in some cases long before. My all-time favorite movie director, Buster Keaton, had already been dead for more than 30 years when I was born, and his heyday was 70 years before I was born. But anyone who knows me well can tell you that I'm often an evangelist for Buster's work. However, I would never say that those movies should be remade for a new generation, because they already exist. If you tell me you want to remake Sherlock Jr., I'm going to start kicking you. Something being old does not preclude latter-day appreciators of art from enjoying it. Most of the most famous paintings in the world were done more than 100 years ago. When you say you want your favorite game remade so that future generations can enjoy it, you're kind of making a negative assumption about future generations' capacity to appreciate art. The idea that all games need to be put through the garbage disposal until they come out looking like every other modern game really saddens me. It reminds me of something that Martin Scorsese said when he was defending his assertion that Marvel movies aren't really cinema. If people are only given one kind of thing and endlessly sold only one kind of thing, of course they're going to want more of that one kind of thing. By endlessly standardizing to modern tastes, the big publishers are optimizing the uniqueness out of a lot of games. I think the idea of an Ocarina of Time remake is such a lose-lose. Either it's a tile-for-tile remake of the Nintendo 64 game, in which case there's no point in spending close to $100 on a game that's almost as old as I am, in which there are a variety of ways to play without spending so much money. The only advantage would be pretty graphics, and really, there's other ways to get pretty graphics in an old game. And also the original graphics are fucking awesome, I don't know what your problem is. The other route they could take would be to make a game that has the same story but different gameplay. Then the problem is that it's not the same game that nostalgia-poisoned elders fell in love with. It basically ceases to be a remake at that point. Also, if it's an effectively new game, Nintendo is likely to make it another giant, empty, boring open world like their want has been for about 10 years now. It'll be more effective as a sleep aid than entertainment. The widespread obsession with remakes of beloved games belies a sad truth. For as much as gamers crow that video games are an art form, they don't treat them like they are. People who love cinema don't rejoice when a remake of their favorite movie is announced. They cry and moan, and rightly so. They cry and moan because they recognize that a remake is capitalist nonsense. Why do we celebrate when game companies try to charge us $70 for games that we've already played? Have we lost our minds? Here's a little secret for you. You can remake a game all on your own, no new payment required, and the secret is just to live life. If you look at Ocarina of Time again after a long absence, the experience will have fundamentally changed in the interim because you fundamentally changed in the interim. I first played Ocarina of Time at a family friend's house when I was 4 years old, and between writing this script and releasing this video, I turned 30. If I hadn't changed in the interim, then something would be very, very wrong. Ocarina of Time makes a particularly good case study for this point, since it's a game that's more about growing up than anything else. As someone who grew up a lot in the past half-decade or so, it really does feel like you're a child, you go to bed, and then you're a full-blown adult. The passage of time, and how much can change in such a short amount of it, was totally lost on me when I was a child and a preteen, but comes into sharp focus playing Ocarina as an adult. Sheik's dialogue especially takes on new poignancy after living to experience the things discussed. Sayings like, "The flow of time is always cruel, its speed seems different for each person but no one can change it," was completely lost on me before I really experienced any substantial flow of time. Now I've experienced many of the things Sheik talked about. The cruelty of time, the blossoming of friendship, and love becoming a deep affection. Ocarina of Time is hardly the only game this works for. In fact, I think almost any game benefits from a second look after some time has passed, but it makes a particularly good case study for it since it's in concert with the game's actual text. This is most obviously true in its ending. At the end of Ocarina of Time, Zelda laments that because of her plan and Ganondorf's actions, Link was robbed of his childhood. She sends him back to his own time, exhorting him to make up for those lost years. However, it's very strongly implied and outright stated in the sequels that Link is unable to go back to the way things were before, having been so fundamentally changed by the experience. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't return to the womb. The way I've changed as a person was even reflected in how differently I played the game in comparison to my younger years. I remember pretty well that when I was a teenager I did a 3-heart challenge of Ocarina of Time. I don't really know why. Nobody challenged me to do it, and I'm not even sure I even told anyone I did it. Maybe I did it to prove something to myself, although my reasoning is lost to time. A low percent challenge like that is an isolating way to play a game. It requires you to engage with the crafted world as little as possible in the name of efficiency. I think that reflects on the kind of kid I was. This time I came very close, but not exactly to 100% completion in my exploration, since I was preparing for some randomized runs. This playstyle, by contrast, requires taking a lot of interest in Hyrule, and I was rewarded. I learned quite a few things about this game that I never knew before, like the cool Crystal Wolfos room in the Sacred Forest meadow, or the fact that the fishing in this game fucking sucks. It pisses me off! All that discovery and gregariousness, in contrast with the lifeless efficiency of my childhood playthroughs, reflects how differently I approach art and life than I did as a little one. Whether you had the happiest and most uncomplicated childhood ever, or if you wish you could forget it, those times are never coming back. At the end of the day, I think the idea that remakes are about sharing games with new generations is a euphemistic lie. In truth, I think what's really going on is that people believe a remake of their childhood classic will make them feel like the original did when they played it as children. I'm here to tell you that that feeling you had as a child is never going to come back. It is written in the very stars themselves. The galaxy has been hurtling through space from the moment the universe began. Everything that exists has been changing every second for as long as it's existed, and it will continue to do so until the final star goes out billions of years from now. You are not going to claw back your childhood, and that's okay. This is not something to grieve, it's something to rejoice in. Do you know how fucking boring life would be if you hadn't changed at all as you got older? If Ocarina of Time never made you feel a different way on the replay, then there would be no reason to ever play it again after the first time. I guess my point in saying all of this is that you don't need to fall for ploys where a corporation pretends they can sell your childhood back to you. Those days are safe from the clutches of capitalism. Even a force that large is no match for time. The timing might be a little weird here because we are not quite halfway through the video, but close to it. But this is our intermission for today. And my main topic to discuss today is the fact that the Water Temple is the best dungeon in the game. Cope and seethe. And my reason for saying that is, first of all, aesthetically it's astounding. I think it's the most beautiful part of the entire game. I really, really adore it. And secondly, I think that the fact that its design is this, like, wheel with these spokes that go off of it is really interesting, because a lot of the other dungeons in Ocarina of Time are basically just like hallways. They have like some, like, you have to turn off the hallway for a second and then you get right back in the hallway once you've like found a key. But like the Water Temple is a really, really interesting open-ended design that I wish that more of the game was like. And again, aesthetically gorgeous. And like people complain about the boots or whatever, but it really doesn't take that long. Like, it's fine. Really, and like, you know, if you really hate it that much, there are ways to mitigate it by, you know, playing with Ship of Harkinian or something. And the second thing is, I am probably going to open a Patreon. So if you're seeing this section of the video, then that means I did decide to go through with it. For the time being, it's free, because I want to figure out all the stuff with monetization at a later time. But for now, my main purpose with it is to gauge interest in potential monetization. So I'll see what the memberships look like. And for the time being, since there's no paid benefits, it's just going to be, you know, a place for me to give updates on the videos that I'm working on. This video is scheduled to go up in August, at the beginning of August, and I'm recording it like in around the beginning of mid-July, so I'm trying to build up a backlog. I'm trying to get ahead on videos so that I can work on them and also have time for other projects in addition to videos. But, you know, the Patreon is sort of to give you an idea of what's going on, and where I'm going from here, and and potentially in the future it will probably be monetized, and I will look into adding some benefits for those that choose to send a little money my way. I'd really appreciate it. In the meantime, though, you can always buy me a coffee. Your game recommendation for today is Eco. I finally played Eco recently while some friends watched, and the reason I'm recommending it here, it seems like kind of an obvious choice, but it took me a while to play it, so maybe you're the same way. And I kept calling it Elevated Zelda during my playthrough, and I think it's really better than that, frankly. It's an amazing game. If you like the Souls games or Zelda at all, you should play this because it's a big aesthetic influence on those later games, and also it's just an amazing game in its own right. And to go to the opposite end of the quality spectrum to, like, you know, fun bad, we have the amazing Bulk as your movie recommendation. Just go watch it. I won't say anything more because it is very silly. Randomize. Miracles and coincidences, the sun and the moon. When I said I was doing a straightforward revisit of Ocarina of Time, I was being a little bit obtuse. In actuality, it was in preparation for playing the game as a randomizer. I am compelled immensely by video game randomizers, which might be surprising to hear because I often recoil at games that have a high degree of randomization. The roguelite is absolutely dominant in the world of indies, and I think the randomizer represents a much more interesting way for a game to include random elements. In a roguelite, the effect of death is softened by the fact that even an unsuccessful run of the game still increments your progress in some respect or another. So the effect in the grand scheme is that it just makes the game way too freaking long. Like, what finally made me quit Hades 2 after my frustration with it started to mount was the fact that after I'd beaten both final bosses, I found out I'd have to beat each one of them like 10 times or some shit to finish the game. You might be tempted to justify that by saying, well, each run to those bosses will be different. Yeah, barely. There are random elements, but they don't change the game enough from run to run to really make it interesting at all. All it does is make everything take forever. What frustrates me about the random elements in a lot of roguelites is the fact that the randomization never really goes against you. It's random what benefits you get, but there are never any situations where the randomness fucks you over that badly. By contrast, in a more old-fashioned roguelike, you could just roll a really nasty version of the dungeon and have your run end quickly. That makes getting on a good run feel all the sweeter. The randomizer is one of the most fun ways a game can include randomness as an element. While most randomizers have logic that makes sure the game can still be finished, there is no guarantee that it will be easy or that you won't get fucked over. I think it's very fun that in a randomizer, the rewards you get often have no correlation to how much effort you have to expend to get them. It leads to some great comedy. Like, some of the chests in Ocarina of Time contain ice traps, and those are shuffled into the item pool just like everything else when you play an Ocarina of Time randomizer. During one of my attempts at this challenge, I got an ice trap as a reward for killing 20 gold Skulltulas, when I already hadn't found much that was of help for the entire run. I had to laugh at that point. Things like that happening are what makes it more fun when you do get something good from the randomizer. I just think that playing a new game that tests your knowledge and skill at another game, tests your memory and ability to do things under limitations, is a way more interesting use of random elements than just slowing progression to an agonizing drip feed. Randomizing a game essentially creates a new one, of course, but it's a game that calls back to one that already exists, heavily borrowing elements from it to create a new experience for players who've already played the base game. Is that not, at the end of the day, what a video game remake actually is? Randomization is another way to remake a game, experiencing the same beats but reshuffled, and it doesn't require you forking over cash. It makes the old new again in a more interesting way than 4K resolutions or controlling the camera with the right stick ever could. But the most powerful force in the universe is lesbian love, as we've discussed before, and love can also remake a video game when it's played under the right conditions. Romance. It's endless, but somewhere out there, only you are waiting for me, with an unfading smile. In truth, I did both the initial replay and the randomizer in pursuit of the real goal, playing Ocarina of Time in an archipelago. For those not familiar, Archipelago is a program that allows a team of players to randomize all the checks across multiple games and network them together, collaborating to solve both games. My girlfriend and I decided to set one up, in which I'd be playing Ocarina of Time and she'd be tackling The Wind Waker. Let me tell you, if both you and your girlfriend are into video games, there is not a date activity that's much better than Archipelago. The experience of playing Archipelago with a romantic partner is so much like life in a long-distance relationship. Because your checks are randomized across both games, there are moments where you can't advance until your girlfriend finds something in her game that allows you to make more progress in your own. To humbly wait for someone's aid, and to provide it to her when she needs it, is very romantic in my estimation. This, too, is Yuri. To be separated and yet working together, helping each other keep moving forward. That describes my present situation quite well. That's the third way that the passage of time remakes the game better than a real remake ever could. You can remake a game for free if you share it with someone you care about. Frankly, half the reason I love video games is that I love to talk about them with my friends and loved ones. At the risk of being a bit cringe, sharing formative art with my girlfriend and having her examples shared with me in turn is one of the ways that we can grow closer and understand each other better, even across great distance. I think very, very often of the night when I couldn't sleep because I was having such debilitating health OCD, and my girlfriend offered to stay up and let me show her Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness until I calmed down. I also think frequently that our relationship really began in the days last summer when she started showing me Kamen Rider Build. One of the most life-changing messages I've ever gotten was her sending me the following message on the 5th of July, 2025. Say, Julie, are you perhaps acquainted with Kamen Rider? Not only did it kick off a new hyperfixation, it was a pivotal moment in the most important relationship of my life right now. We positively adored the experience of sharing Ocarina of Time and The Wind Waker with each other, to the point where we began a second Archipelago randomizer on the very same night we finished the first. We remade these games together, and we did it for free, and Nintendo can never charge us $80 for that privilege.
次回 Kamen Rider Giulietto. The mysterious blur title from the Mina the Hollower video revealed. Is the Super Famicom classic the Battleship Potemkin of video games? Find out next time. Thanks for watching Superhero Time.
Remember, video games are for women. Ciao!